We, the people, are giving up our wealth to keep the wealthy in power. In other words, we are funding our own slavery. Hello, YouTubers. Alaska Prepper here. I came across this article. It's about a week old, but it is very relevant as to what is going on, not only here in the United States, but around the world. And the title, as you can see, is "A Tenth of the World Could Go Hungry While Crops Rot in the Fields." The world is hurtling toward an unprecedented hunger crisis. As many as 132 million more people than previously projected could go hungry in 2020. And this year's gain may be more than triple any increase this century. This health crisis is upending food supply chains, crippling economies, and eroding consumer purchasing power. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I wanted to go over these three things it mentions here. This health crisis is upending food supply chains. As you know, our food supply chains have been affected. That's a fact, because of the health crisis, because of the restrictions that our governments have put on our businesses, crippling economies for the same reason, and eroding consumer purchasing power. Now, what does that mean? Eroding consumer purchasing power. Something I've talked about many times before. How much is your dollar worth today compared to what it was worth a year ago? And why has its purchasing power been eroded? Ask yourselves that question. Some projections show that by the end of the year, this health crisis will cause more people to perish each day from hunger than from the crisis itself. What makes the situation unmatched? The massive spike is happening at a time of enormous global food surpluses, and it's happening in every part of the world, with new levels of food insecurity forecast for countries that used to have relative stability. Now, this is something I've been saying for a while, ladies and gentlemen. It can happen here in the United States. Whenever people think of countries going hungry, they always look to those poorer nations. And a good example of that is we always look to the countries within Africa. Oh, look, they're going hungry. It's because they can't grow food. No, it can happen here as well. That's why it is so important, ladies and gentlemen, that we store up as much food as we possibly can. Because the best thing that can happen, the best outcome, is that you get to eat that food that you stored today, later on, a year from now maybe, at today's prices. Because right here it's telling you that our dollar is being devalued. So why not use those dollars today to get food at a price that you're not going to be able to get it at in a year from now? In Queens, New York, as well as in many other cities around the country, ladies and gentlemen, the lines snaking around a food bank are 8 hours long as people wait for a box of supplies that might last them a week. While farmers in California are plowing over lettuce and fruit is rotting on trees in Washington. In Uganda, bananas and tomatoes are piling up in open air markets. Supplies of rice and meat were left floating at ports earlier this year after logistical jams in the Philippines, China, and Nigeria. And in South America, Venezuela is teetering on the brink of famine. Ladies and gentlemen, let us use these examples. That's why I keep talking about this. Let us use these examples to better prepare ourselves for the inevitable. We'll see the scars of this crisis for generations, said Mariana Chilton, director of the Center for Hunger-Free Communities at Drexel University. In 2120, we'll still be talking about this crisis. Ladies and gentlemen, it's like I've said before, humans have an average lifespan of about 80 years. We will not be talking about this health crisis in 2120. We may be reading about it, looking back on it, like today we're looking back on what happened during the Great Depression. But crises like this will continue to happen because we as humanity insist on not learning from the past. Now, this crisis will create a generation or two of people like those that were created during the Great Depression. People that will put food away. people that will rely on themselves to provide for their families in times of crises. However, that's in our future, not in the now. In the now, what we need to do is learn those lessons in a hurry so that we can at least start putting food away now, so that we don't fall in line with the statistics that they are forecasting here. By the end of the year, as many as 12,000 people could perish a day from hunger linked to this health crisis, potentially more than those perishing from the health crisis itself. So you see, ladies and gentlemen, I've heard this a lot. I've heard a lot of people say that the solution may be worse than the problem. And right here, they're putting it right in your face, that it could possibly be that the solutions that they are imposing on the people, on we the people, could possibly be worse than the problem itself. And those numbers are calculated based on more than 80% jump from those facing crisis level hunger globally. This health crisis has exposed some of the world's deepest inequalities. It's also a teetering force in who gets to eat and who doesn't, underscoring global social divides as the richest keep enjoying a breakneck pace of wealth accumulation. Millions of people have been thrown out of work and don't have enough money to feed their families, despite the trillions in government stimulus that's helped send global equities to all-time highs. Ladies and gentlemen, a few days ago, I called into the Rethinking the Dollar show. Michael over there hosts Rethinking the Dollar. It's a great channel. I recommend that you guys go check him out. And he has a call-in show, usually every night of the week, during the week, during the work week. And I told Michael during that show that I'm all for the stimulus checks. And a caller, after I talked on that show, a caller kind of took my words out of context and tried to make it sound like I'm all for people getting free stuff. Absolutely not. Let me tell you what I meant by that. Most of you probably didn't hear me talk on there, but let me tell you what I meant by that. I am all for stimulus checks, and this is why. This right here is exactly why. All right, because it says here, millions of people have been thrown out of work and don't have enough money to feed their families despite the trillions in government stimulus that's helped the global equities to all-time highs. What does that mean? What does that sentence mean right there? It means that although the government has printed trillions of dollars, of which have taken wealth out of your dollars and your labors, even though it's printed trillions of dollars, people are still starving and stocks are still going up. And why is that? Because most of those trillions of dollars have gone to these corporations and extremely wealthy people who have mismanaged their capital and are in the brink of bankruptcy. And the reason I'm all for the stimulus to go to the people is because the system, ladies and gentlemen, our financial system is gone. It's over. It is being held together with strings and tape. It will eventually fail. And if our system is going to eventually fail anyways because it is grounded on a foundation that does not exist, then I would rather have those trillions of dollars go to the people and not the corporation or the mega wealthy who don't need it. The people need it to buy food, to keep shelter. That is why I would rather the stimulus go to the people than to the corporations. Because the system is done anyways. So if it's done, might as well give the people a chance to fight and keep what they have instead of giving it to the mega wealthy. I have no problem with capitalism, but this is not capitalism. When the government takes your wealth and redistributes it to those that have mismanaged their capital by gambling in the stock market, ladies and gentlemen, what is that? That is serfdom. We, the people, are giving up our wealth to keep the wealthy in power. In other words, we are funding our own slavery. On top of the economic malice, lockdowns and broken supply chains have also created a serious problem for food distribution. The sudden shift away from restaurant eating, which in places like the US used to account for more than half of dining, means farmers have been dumping milk and smashing eggs with no easy means to redirect their production to either grocery stores or those in need. Why is that, ladies and gentlemen? Because of regulations. Why can we not go to a farm who has excess food and buy it right from the farmer? Don Cameron of Terra Nova Ranch in California took a hit of about $55,000 this year on his cabbage crop. Almost half the loss, $24,000, came because Cameron decided to donate to local food banks after demand from his usual customers dried up. He had to pay for the labor needed to do the harvesting and truck the load. He even needed to cover the cost of some bins and pallets to get supplies moved. It would have been a lot cheaper to just let the crops rot in the field. We know other parts of the country need what we have here, but the infrastructure has not been set up, as far as I'm aware, to allow that. There are times where there is food available and it's because of logistics that it doesn't find a home, said Cameron, who still ended up destroying about 50,000 tons of the crop since nearby food banks can only take so much cabbage. I'll go ahead and leave it off at that, ladies and gentlemen. I'll go ahead and leave this link to this article all the way in the bottom of the description of the video if you guys want to come and check out the full article. Ladies and gentlemen, this is just another sign that we need to continue to prepare. I've said it 1,000 times. I will say it 1,000 times over. The people that are passing the regulations, that are adhering to these laws that make no sense, ladies and gentlemen, those people are well fed. Have you seen a hungry politician? Who here has ever seen a hungry politician? Who here has ever seen a politician that is on the brink of being foreclosed on his or her home? Who here has ever seen a politician who's had his or her car towed away for non-payment? But these are the people that we allow to make choices for us in how we live our lives. It's a two-tier system. That's the end goal, ladies and gentlemen. It's going to be the haves and the have-nots. The question is, are you going to make it to the other side? So prepare. Having said that, thank you very much for joining in. I hope you guys are having a good day today. I truly hope that you spend the day with your families. Remember to be good to each other. When good people do good things happen. Remember to reach one, teach one, and repeat. If we all did this, the world would be a better place, and you know that it will be a better place. Many blessings to all of you and your families. This is Alaska Prepper, and I'm out.